Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Silicon Valley Clean Energy Board of Directors meeting. And I believe we have a quorum. And so I think we can go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead with the call to order.
Thank you, Chair. If we could begin by asking Director Mohan to make a statement on her participation this evening.
Sure. Thank you, Andrea. Chair Tyson and my fellow directors, thank you for allowing me to come on remote access today. I am appearing remotely pursuant to AB 2449 under the Just Cause provision because I'm unable to attend in person due to a physical disability that cannot be accommodated. I also wanted you to know the remote location is my home and there is no one present in the room.
Thank you, Director Mohan.
Great, thank you. Andrea, I see the note about a practice session. Is that something I should worry about?
Thank you.
Okay.
We're live.
Worry shall I not? Okay, then let's proceed with the roll call. Oh, do
we have it recorded.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. I will begin with Director Makachuk.
Present.
Director Scozola.
Here.
Chair Tyson.
Here.
Vice Chair Walia.
Here.
Director Rennie.
Here.
Alternate Director Srinivasan.
Here.
Director Lee.
Here.
Director Meadows.
Here.
Participating remotely, we have Director Martinez Beltran.
Here.
Director Hilton.
Here.
Thank you. Director Mohan.
Here.
And I will note that currently we have Director Abe Koga and Director Chua absent, but we do have a quorum.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the next item, which is public comment on matters not listed on the agenda. So if we have public that wishes to make comments, you can see some characteristics of that here in the text. And do we have any public comment from members of the public for items not listed on the agenda? I do not see any in the room.
None online.
Not online. Very good. Let's move on then to the consent calendar. And I do believe that we have a statement from Tricia Ortiz, our general counsel. We need some microphone.
Does that work?
Yeah.
There we go. Prior to taking action, the Brown Act requires an oral report of a summary of a adoption of a salary schedule or compensation paid to an agency executive. So I'm reporting that on the consent calendar, there's two items that I need to summarize. The first being the adoption of amendment to the CEO contract that extends the contract. It includes two terms related to compensation. It provides for reimbursement of travel expenses and it provides for a $50,000 retention payment. The second item is adoption of a salary schedule for the CEO position. That salary schedule is proposed at $325,000 to $450,000. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Regarding the rest of the consent calendar, do we have any items that anyone wishes to pull? I do not see any. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Many seconds.
Many seconds. Do we have any public comment on the consent? Oh, I'm sorry. What were my choices? All right. All right, Sally, I choose you.
Except I didn't second it.
Oh, okay.
It
I'm
might have been Yvonne, was it you?
I did, yes.
I choose Yvonne, and I promise to be a better listener. I've been saying that for a long time, though. Do we have any public comment? I do not see any in the room, and there's none online.
None online.
Anything further from folks? In that case, let's have the vote.
Thank you. Chair Tyson.
Yes.
Vice Chair Walia.
Yes.
Director Scozola.
Aye.
Meadows.
Yes.
Rennie.
Aye.
Makachuk.
Aye.
Srinivasan.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Mohan.
Aye.
Hilton.
Aye.
Martinez Beltran.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries with Directors Chua and Abe Koga absent.
Great, very good, thanks. And then we'll move on to the regular calendar. And before we do that, I would like to just comment that since our last meeting, we have had an announcement of our very own CEO, Girish Balachandran, has announced his intention to retire, and to make that as effective as of March 2024. Just to reassure everyone that we are a strong, healthy organization. We're valuing continuity in our process, and we have identified a search committee that is now taking applications and looking to fill that position. And so I think that's all I want to say on that. And with that, I'll hand it to our CEO, Girish.
Thank you, Chair Tyson, members of the board. On my report today, I have 4 items. First, I'd like to inform you of some promotions we have at SVCE. We have Benna Chang, who used to be former Senior Government Affairs Manager. She is now Director of Government and Legislative Affairs. Pamela Leonard used to be Senior Communications Manager. She is now promoted to Deputy Director of Marketing and Communications. Nick Zanato, former Manager of IT and Administrative Services, is now Senior Manager of IT and Administrative Services, and he is in the process of actually hiring an IT person to come in behind him. We've also hired a new HR director who should be joining us on September 25th, and very excited to have her join us, and she will be introduced to you at the October board meeting. I also want to tell you that I will not be here all of October, a long planned vacation, and our COO, Monica Padilla, will be our acting CEO during that time. I would now like to move on to introduce 3 new team members at SVCE. First would be Joey Landy, who is working for Adams Group as an energy services principal. And let me hand it over to Joey to introduce himself to the board.
Thanks so much, Girish, and thank you, board, for having me and the chance to introduce myself. My name is Joey Landy. I joined the Energy Services team in June as Energy Services Principal, and I missed you all at the last meeting due to a long-planned family road trip, but now I'm back and the work is picking up quickly, so happy to be here. Most of my professional life has been in demand-side energy programs. I spent the last 6 or so years building up and then managing MCE's non-residential programs portfolio, covering commercial, agricultural, and industrial customers. And I also led the development of MCE's marketplace or flex market programs, which are sort of a new spin on demand flexibility programming, integrating the value of energy efficiency and demand flexibility together. And prior to that, I worked under a number of utility programs, public sector programs, and CEC funded programs while at Energy Solutions in Oakland. And I'm super excited to have landed here at SVCE. I was really drawn to Girish and Adam's perspectives on our work and in staying grounded in our mission and not shying away from conversations around strategy and the evolution of strategy. This is a super dynamic sector to work in. And this organization is clearly well equipped to navigate through just about anything while maintaining a focus on customer and climate benefits. So happy to be here. And for a little bit about me, I'm a lifelong Bay Area resident and currently live in Marin County with my wife and 2 kids. I'll take just about any chance I can to get outside for mountain biking or camping. And of course, kids team sports, which seem to take up just about all my time these days. But yeah, that's it. Honored to be here, and thanks for taking the time to hear from me in an introduction. I'll pass it back over.
Thank you, Joey. We're very happy to have him fill out Adam's team. Next, I'd like to introduce 2 community outreach fellows. First is someone we have in person, Julianne Miller. She comes to us through the Climate Corps Fellowship Program, and she likes to be called Julie, and she'll work on the agency's annual education initiatives, such as the Education Fund and Scholarship Competition, among other outreach support. Julie, would you like to come on up and introduce yourself to the board, please?
Okay. Hello, thank you for the introduction, Girish. My name is Julie, and I am the Climate Corps Outreach Fellow. I'll be working with the community outreach, on the education fund, that portion. I come from a background in education. I graduated from NYU with a bachelor's of arts in environmental studies and then a master's in special education. I've spent the last 3 years working in the public school, several public school districts around the Bay. I'm excited to be a part of the team at Silicon Valley Clean Energy. I was drawn to it because I can include my education background with supporting the education fund while also contributing to decarbonizing our Bay Area. And a bit about myself is I absolutely love the ocean and I love the Bay. I enjoy any opportunity to get outside, go for hikes, take advantage of the beautiful scenery around us. And I'm also a dive master, so I love scuba diving and any chance I can to get in the ocean. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Julie. And I did see a hurrah from Yvonne. I guess that's NYU, maybe.
Yay.
Yeah, super happy to have Julie on the team. Next, I'd like to introduce Sophia Zhang. She joined SVCE this Monday as a Power Policy Planning, Procurement, Regulatory, and Operations. That's 4-Pro fellow. And I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Girish, and good evening, directors. My name is Sophia, and I will be the 4-Pro fellow. I'm super excited to be joining the 4-Pro team and to join an organization with a mission that I really resonate with. So a little bit about my background. I recently graduated UC Berkeley this year, studying environmental economics and policy, as well as political economy. And my love for both environmental protection and business drew me to clean energy. And I decided to focus my studies in energy management and energy resource management. So in business experience-wise, I was a management consulting intern with Arthur D. Little, where I worked with the energy and utilities team. I've also been a business operations intern at a steel technology company. And during my time at UC Berkeley, I was a conservation and technology fellow with the Fung Institute of Engineering. I'm super, super grateful and really excited about the opportunity to join SVCE and learn from and work with such talented individuals. And I really hope to take all of my learnings from this year and to apply them and give back to our service community. And a little bit just about me outside of the work that I'll do for SVCE. I love baking and I love cooking. One of my favorite hobbies is going to Berkeley Bowl in the Bay and seeing what local fruits and veggies are available for the season. And I also love to read and to travel. Thank you both. Thank you all so much.
Go Bears.
Somebody beat me to it. Go Bears. That's right.
Thank you, Sophia. And she didn't mention it, but she played golf for her high school team too. So that didn't influence any hiring decision. Okay, so now I'd like to move. Thank you, Sophia. I'd like to call up Director of Government Affairs and Legislative Issues, Benna Chang. She's going to provide you an update on the budget trailer bill.
Thank you so much. Good evening, board. Wanted to give you all a quick update on the governor's budget trailer bill on reliability, since it's been a big topic of discussion for us this past year. As you might remember, earlier this year, the governor proposed a set of policies to improve energy reliability in the state. This included 3 key areas for SVCE. First, central procurement of clean resources. Second, capacity payments for load-serving entities that fail to secure enough resource adequacy. And third, increased CPUC authority over CCAs and integrated resource plans. After many months of effort, we worked through CalCCA, our trade association, to secure major hard-fought wins in the legislative vehicle for these ideas, which was AB 1373. The biggest accomplishment is that we got changes to the bill that ensures CCAs have the first right to procure resources before any investor-owned utility central procurement. Although we didn't get everything that we wanted through the bill, the final deal also significantly limits State Department of Water Resources central procurement and reduced capacity payments. The bill also codifies existing CPUC practices related to authority over our integrated resource plants. I really want to take this opportunity to thank the members of the Legislative Ad Hoc Committee of the board who really helped us advocate for these changes to the bill throughout the year. I know there were a lot of phone calls, text messages, meetings with our state legislative delegation, and that made a huge difference on this bill and ensured that CCAs were at the negotiation table. So again, wanted to thank you. We are expecting this bill to pass the legislature. It is up for a floor vote soon. And we also expect the governor to sign it. Session ends tomorrow, so there's very little time and a lot of bills for them to get through in the next day or so. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. So we also know they're working on a wind procurement where they're planning to procure in bulk, some kind of central procurement, and then require us to take it. And I'm wondering what the interaction would be with this bill where you said, we get the first choice of what we're going to get. Well, now that doesn't sound like first choice if we're forced to take 10% of our 15% of our load with wind. Do we know how it might interact with that effort?
Excellent question. So this bill became very complicated. Basically, there are two different authorities in the bill for central procurement. The one on offshore wind is really intended for the State Department of Water Resources to do. So that has limits that are spelled out in the bill. For example, the resources have to be at least a 5-year lead time for development. That really isn't your normal everyday run-of-the-mill procurement like solar, onshore wind, geothermal. Those are for big projects like offshore wind. But the bill has a separate section that really dealt with IOU central procurement. That the first iteration was written very broadly to say that the CPUC could direct the IOUs to do any kind of clean resource procurement. So what we did was we narrowed that to say, hey, CCAs will have the first right to try and procure, and the IOUs only come in a backstop kind of way. So if the CCAs are not able to procure, then the IOUs would step in. But they are two separate portions of the bill with different rules.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I don't see any. Thank you.
Thank you, Benna. Next, I would like to highlight one chart in the CEO report related to GHG emissions. I'd like to invite Rebecca Fang and Justin Zagunis to talk to you about this. As they are bringing up the slide, I'll just say, so the slide we're going to talk to you about is our total emissions from the time we were formed. And this is something that you would expect to see in the coming years. It's all looking back. We also develop charts looking forward, but this is just a look back. So Rebecca, over to you.
Great. Thanks, Garish, and good evening, board. I'm happy to be here today to report out the results of our 2022 GHG inventory. So this is something that we conduct annually to measure transportation and building energy-related emissions in SVCE service territory. We also use this to measure our progress toward our GHG reduction targets. So in 2022, emissions were about 23% below our 2015 baseline year. So you can see that in the stacked bar chart to the very right. If I can zoom out a bit and direct you to the dashed line in the middle of the chart, this marks the beginning of COVID, shelter in place, a year of a lot of change. As you can see, we saw a great reduction in on-road vehicle, VMT, vehicle miles traveled, as well as a decline in commercial activity. So seen in the decline in natural gas usage there. In the subsequent years, we are seeing a rebound from all of those COVID impacts. So we saw that in 2021, and we are again seeing that in 2022. So as of 2022, we are back to 2019 emissions levels with the 23% reduction. To date, the majority of those emissions reductions have been from the electricity sector. So you can see the two little green bars at the bottom of the chart represent residential and non-residential electricity served by SVCE and PG&E. So the next sectors kind of to tackle now are on-road transportation in blue and natural gas usage in yellow. And to kind of highlight what happened between 2021 and 22, two primary drivers to think about here. So one is a slight increase in electricity emissions. So you can see the green bar has gotten a little bit bigger in 2022, still a small fraction of the overall pie. The reason for that is a higher SVCE emissions factor in 2022 due to the COSO geothermal resource, which came online in January 2022. Monica and Marin held a study session a couple of months ago, kind of talking about the change in methodology for the CEC power content label. So this is related to how geothermal from COSO is counted on our PCL. So that's the first driver, electricity. The second is the big blue bar on top, which is on-road transportation from passenger vehicles. So again, COVID rebound. In 2020, we were at about 76% of normal VMT. 2021, we were at about 87%. And now in 2022, we're at 92%. So we're seeing that rebound. We will probably continue to see an increase in VMT over the next couple of years as we continue recovering toward 100%. But it's hard to say right now if we will fully ever get back to 100%, given that, you know, remote work is still around. But just wanted to note that we are seeing that recovery in VMT. And that concludes the report out. So I'll pause there.
Thank you. I don't know if there's questions. So let me throw one out there because I know I've been seeing the troubles of BART, and I think they're still running at 40% of pre-pandemic ridership. And I'm just wondering, how big a lever would that be in this blue line if BART recovered in its ridership? And it's okay if you wait and give that to me later because I'm kind of surprising you with that.
I mean, is it working? I'm going to steal Rebecca's microphone. I think as you can see, you know, in terms of the COVID impact on, you know, reducing VMT, there is a meaningful reduction in emissions associated with that. And so I think if BART were to recover, obviously we would expect to see, some amount of decrease, but yeah, I don't think we don't have that number right now in terms of exactly what that would be, how the magnitude, I think, of that.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Director Lee.
Yeah, try to understand this chart here. This is only for this county or the Bay Area nine counties we're measuring here?
Yeah, it's a great question. So this is for SVCE service territory. So it's the county minus the cities of Palo Alto, Santa Clara, and San Jose.
Okay, so as we are watching what's on the road, we certainly see a lot more EV this year than the year before and the year before that, right? So are there any appreciative change in those numbers with this non-commercial on road with these EVs now coming on board?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I think we have some concrete numbers, but to kind of give you a ballpark estimate, I think in 2019, we were at about 5% EV penetration in our territory. 2022, we're at between 8 to 9%. So pretty appreciable increase in penetration. However, we found that VMT has continued to increase such that the VMT from ICE vehicles, internal combustion engine vehicles, has remained pretty steady over the years.
Okay, great. Yeah, and again, I mean, we expected these numbers to be worse since COVID is back and back in the days when people can go out. So I think I'm understanding what these numbers are, but the prognosis is that by 2025, we really believe that this will go down to 40, and then 2030 will be 50. So this trend of decreasing amount of numbers of the percentage below 2015 should revert to increase again. When do you think this will happen this coming year or by 20? Because right now we're in 2023. So based on this number, you're saying that 2025, we actually will go from -23 right now to -40. Is that what you're saying?
I think one thing maybe to qualify is that the targets that were set, those numbers, those are territory wide kind of I guess somewhat aspirational goals that the SVCE board adopted to help us guide community level kind of driving towards this. And so that's actions that we've been taking. It's actions that the cities have been taking with their climate action plans. It's actions that the market have been taking. And so I think, I mean, you're kind of maybe reading into what you're saying is that, yeah, 40% below 2015 by 2025, based on kind of where we are today and the fact that it's, we're seeing more COVID recovery than we are, overall decrease is certainly something that, yeah, I think it leads you to believe that by 40% below 2015 by 25 is going to be really hard, if not
Impossible.
Unachievable. Doesn't mean that we're going to stop striving towards that sort of as we think about, okay, we're trying to bend this, carbon curve down. It might look more like a hockey stick at the end of the day in terms of kind of flatter for a while and then steep rather than a linear thing, which is sort of what we assumed when we set this, as one often does when setting goals and targets. But yeah, that's something that we're keeping our eye on, and we're actually in the process right now of figuring out how to update our model so we can get a little bit of a better sense of, yeah, where is this going to go? Because the model we currently have for our forecasting, we installed pre-COVID, and so it doesn't kind of factor in some of those
Right.
pieces.
And then the last thing, I'm not sure how related we are to this, is wildfire emissions, right? Is that captured at all in this, or this is only capturing the locality so that the wildfire being from outside our region, you do not actually capture that?
Right, so yeah, any local pollutants from wildfires are not captured in the scope of this inventory. So this is purely transportation and energy related emissions.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
This is maybe more a suggestion than a question, but there's currently a bill working through the legislature to require large corporations to report their GHG emissions. And I can't help but think if that passes, that there might be some ways we can leverage that for companies in our area to then help them, work with them to help reduce. Since usually once you start measuring things, you start thinking, gee, maybe I should do something about it. And that seems like a place we could, SVCE, work with them to leverage that bill and the results of their measuring and so forth. So I don't know if it's a question, but you can respond if you like.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely take a look at that. Thanks.
Are there any hands raised online? I can't see from that. I don't think we have further questions, so I want to. Oh, okay, there we go.
Hi, Chair. May I go? May I ask?
Please go ahead.
Thank you. In looking at that slide, I just noticed that the gas doesn't seem to be changing or had any changes. Is that just, the picture maybe not demonstrating that there were slight changes? And I know that we recently have had this new, focus kind of on gas and appliances, and I feel like we've really put a lot of gas in the tank, if you will, for that. But I'm just wondering, are we anticipating seeing that start to take impact in 2023 numbers, 2024?
Yeah, great question. I think maybe some context that is helpful to think about for all the success that we've been having in sort of ramping up some of our programs, right? Like the Future Fit Homes program that we've been talking about, hundreds of projects coming in in the past 6 months compared to, it took us, I think, a couple years to install like 300 heat pump water heaters a few years ago when that was really kind of on the cutting edge. So we're certainly seeing this ramp up, right? But when you think about the scale just of water heaters in SVCE territory, it's something like 230,000 that we need to replace in terms of gas water heaters. And so that's the magnitude here that is actually making up some of these gas bars when you look at this. There's residential gas, there's non-residential gas, but it's like the number of units of things that we're talking about that we're actually going to have to touch and replace is very large. And so, not at all to kind of diminish, here we are at the beginning, really trying to pull up the adoption curve and starting to see a little bit more uptake. That's very exciting, very impactful in terms of helping to develop the market, move the market. But when we think about scaling this up, it really is orders of magnitude higher than even where we are today. And so that's why when you look at something like the BACMID rule that has been adopted, where, okay, a requirement kind of on burnout to start replacing these, that's where you start getting to 20,000 replacements a year. So there's a lot of work to be done to get to a place where we can support that and that will work for our community. But that really is the scale that we're going to need to get to in order to appreciably be diminishing some of these natural gas wedges.
Right. No, I think it's great. I think it's a great visualization of the work that we have to do. It's certainly pertinent to the conversations happening in my community. And I think it just shows what an opportunity we have to make some inroads there. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Justin and Rebecca. And Chair Tyson, that's the end of my report.
Very good, thank you. Let's move on then to item number 3, which is the update on the strategic plan and adopting the fiscal year 24 focus areas. Back to you, CEO Girish.
Thank you, Chair Tyson. So one of the goals we have, especially when you talk about the strategic plan and the next item, the budget, is by the time September rolls around and you see this, you're probably going to say, wait a second, didn't I just see this in August? And those of you on the exec committee would say, didn't I see this in June also? So part of this is the board has 3 major responsibilities. You're responsible for all of SVCE, but it's to set strategic direction, adopt a budget, hire and fire the CEO. Major things. So that's why I think that over communication on strategic plan is way better than under communication. Given all that lead up, I'm actually going to go through these slides very fast. Next slide, please. You've seen this. This is basically saying we have a process of getting it to the board. We get input from staff, and this is a continuing dialogue. Next slide. The strategic plan doesn't stand on its own. It's all in service of our mission, which is right on top. But we start with the bottom up of enterprise risk management, looking at what opportunities and risks face us as of this process. The focus areas are organization-wide priorities, and I have a graphic to distinguish that from our work plan that's coming up. The budget is the operation document that allocates resources, and this is a schematic that's good for just framing different things that we are doing. Next slide, please. There's no changes to the mission and the measure. Actually, Director Lee's question at the CEO report is relevant to the measure. I fully expect that next year we will look at that measure again and say, that ain't happening by 2025. And there's lots of analysis that we'll be doing to make this clear to you. So it's a very large goal that has to be achieved. We are doing really well, but these goals were set back in 2016-ish. The couple of people on the board that were there at that point will remember. Next slide, please. On the right are the focus areas from last year. On the left is what we've talked about this year. We have incorporated comments from the board exec committee into this. And there's one change. Everything stays the same as what I presented in August, except for one. Under number 5, go to the next slide, please. And it's, you've got to hire a new CEO. That's your responsibility. And under each of these strategic focus areas, there are about 3 or 4 sub-bullets which are available to you in the appendix. Next slide. So here's a schematic of how the strategic focus areas and our work plan work together. So we do publish a glossy document that's also on our website. So on the left-hand side are the strategic focus areas that you drive. And essentially, when you decide this, it sets up things like the kinds of long-term projects we are working on. And when you look at the appendix, you'll see this, say, just expand clean and reliable grid actions. Some of the bullets underneath that include focusing on a virtual power plant. What does that mean for SVCE? How do you take care of demand flexibility? How do real-time prices factor into this? Looking at the Google Clean Carbon-Free Energy Index, that how you maintain that, attracting DA customers and keeping them. So there's a lot under each of these on the left-hand side that are long-term. On the right-hand side is our work plan, and that's driven essentially by staff. And we tend to look at our work plan by departments. So this is the way we've set it up. It all comes together from a transparency standpoint of seeing everything in the October timeframe when we put our work plan together. So that's in its final stages of development, and we work this in parallel. Next slide, please. This is basically saying that we'll provide you on October 11th, the work plan. It will be on the consent calendar. There's a lot of detail. Anyone who has questions, we'd be happy to talk to you in person, offline, or at the board meeting. But in previous years too, it's a lot of detail, and that will be presented to you. So the next slide has the recommendation for your consideration to approve our fiscal year 24 strategic focus areas. Open to questions.
Thank you, Girish. Do we have any questions from the board here in the room? I do not see.
I'll make a comment that I've seen this before multiple times. And we've asked, excuse me, multiple questions in those sessions. And I think that obviously that's why we don't have, or why I don't have questions, because we spent a fair amount of time on this, and it's great to see it now ready to be approved. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Mekachuk. Any other comments or questions? I do not see any from the board. And so do we have any public comment on this subject? I do not see any in the room or online. So with that, this is actually an action. So we're adopting this, the focus area. So I'd be looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Director Mekachuk. And then a second by Director Walia.
To approve the strategic plan and the goals.
Yes.
Chair Tyson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Walia,
Yes.
Dr. Squazzola,
Aye.
Meadows,
Aye.
Rennie,
Aye.
Mekachuk,
Aye.
Abekoga,
Aye.
Srinivasan,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Mohan,
Aye.
Hilton,
Aye.
Martinez Beltran.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries with Director Chua absent.
Thank you so much. Let's move on to item number 4, which is adopting the 2023-24 recommended operating budget and updated reserves policy. And I do believe Mr. Amrit Singh, our CFO, will be presenting.
Thank you. Good. Is this on? Great.
Good evening, directors. As Grace mentioned, this will also feel like deja vu to you, as last month we went through the budget in detail, but the purpose of today's meeting is to actually get it adopted and approved so that we have an approved budget at the start of our next fiscal year, which begins on October 1st. So with that, we'll go talk about the agenda a bit. So the purpose, again, is to adopt the budget, the operating budget, as well as to revise the reserves policy based on the discussion we had last time. And to help with that decision, I will basically recap a little bit about the process we went through. Like Chris mentioned, we went through several iterations of this. I'll just give a brief highlight of that process, recap the key messages of the budget, and then present to you the recommended budget for adoption. Okay, go to the next slide. So looks familiar. So this is again to tie it to what Gris talked about, the strategic focus area. This is the funding in alignment of that focus area to basically serve our mission. And we'll go to the next slide and we'll talk about the process. So we started at a very high level budget framework discussion. We had that discussion starting in the spring with the finance and committee of the board, and then executive committee of the board, and also in June with the board, with the framework and the principles and assumptions that go into making our budget. Then putting all of those numbers and final touches, working in the month of July, we developed the budget and we presented that to the board last month. And the board had no recommended changes to the budget. So we're bringing that budget to you today for adoption. And as a reminder, as we do every year after the budget is adopted, we will do a mid-year adjustment because we deal with a very volatile commodity, as you know by now. So it's prudent to do an adjustment to the budget, and we'll do so again in March. And that we'll go to the next slide. So here are some of the highlights of the budget. 4 main points I want to make. The first is the results are highly uncertain. We're looking at another positive year. We're looking to contribute something like close to $8 million to the bottom line reserves. But this forecast is very uncertain, and we talked about in detail last time. And the key reason is the volatile energy prices, and more so the high resource adequacy RA and RPS prices. And these prices are at record high levels right now. And they add extra layer of uncertainty in our forecast because high RA and RPS prices will bring down PCIA and drive up PG&E's generation rate. Energy prices coming down has the opposite impact. It's actually going to raise PCIA. We have market data that gives us what the forward-looking market is for energy prices. We don't have such a transparent data for RA and RPS prices. And what goes into making CPUC's calculation of PCIA and PG&E's generation rate is something that they call the market price benchmark, which they will issue sometime within a month from now. And that number is basically based on a survey of load serving entities transacted prices for RA and RPS. So absent not knowing that, we've used conservative numbers that came from a consulting model. But if this PUC, we think that makes our forecast somewhat conservative. We don't know to what extent these high RA and RPS prices will be incorporated in the PUC's market price benchmark, but we're hoping that it will be higher than what we've assumed, and that has a potential to increase these numbers, assuming other parameters don't work against the budget, which is continued decline in energy prices. Power supply costs, the big cost in our portfolio. The costs are very comparable to what they were last year. There are drivers that are moving up and down. High RA and RPS prices are obviously increasing it. Lower energy prices are decreasing it. Some favorable PPAs coming online are decreasing it. Load increase of about 1.5% that we've assumed in the budget is increasing it. All those ups and downs basically make that budget flat. So all in all, we're looking right now at a contribution to reserve of about $7.7 or $8 million. In terms of customer discount, what we have assumed in the budget is to continue with our 4% that we're currently providing our customers through the end of the this year, which is basically 3 months of the new fiscal year. We want to change our rates when PG&E changes its rates, which is expected to be in January. And for budget purposes, for setting this budget, we've assumed a 1% discount for all customers and an additional 1% offered as dollar bill credits to our low income customers. So that raises their effective discount rate to something like 12 or 13%. This is something that we've done recently in our budget. So overall, customer discount on overall level is about 2%. And what we've said and what we've done in last year as well is we can come back and revisit this when we come to the board and seek rate change, likely in November, December timeframe. And at that time, we will have more certainty on what PG&E's rates are likely to be and what the PUC is likely to adopt. And if there's more opportunity to adjust these numbers, we can do so at that time. The third item is to update our reserve targets. As you remember, in the June board meeting, we went through a stress test analysis. That's the methodology we use now to set our reserve targets to make sure that if these extreme but plausible events occur, we have the financial means to withstand them. That analysis showed that we should increase our reserves from 285 days to 300. At first look, we thought 285 is close to 300, let's stay with it. But then we had second indicator that came in, and that was from Moody's. They recently upgraded our credit rating. And one of the things they indicated is that's credit positive is maintaining liquidity rate in excess of 300 days. So given those two, we thought it's prudent to move the reserve target, slightly increasing it from 285 to 300 days. And again, we will revisit this again next year, as we now do every year. The other major changes in the budget, we're increasing our positions by 9 positions. We went through in detail where we're adding that. Most of this is geared towards driving in our program areas, additional marketing staff. We're increasing compensation, our annual compensation to adjust for cost of living as well as for merit. And then we had discussed with the board and the committees about setting aside funding for a building fund. We don't think we need to do that. Nevertheless, that doesn't slow us from the activity of looking for attractive opportunities. We're going to continue to do that. We don't need money set aside right now. That doesn't take us away from the activity of looking for opportunities. And if we do find one, we will come back to the board and the committees and ask of setting aside additional funding. And in the budget, we, as we do every year, we transfer 2% of our revenues to programs and our nuclear savings. So combined, we were still adding $11 million additional for our program funding. Programs is well-funded right now, well-funded in the sense that we are fully occupied right now with the level of funding we have to fully engage us. But nevertheless, we all, as we just heard from a previous discussion, there's a lot more funding that we need to bend the carbon curve. And that's something that we need to remember as we have good financial years, that we do need more funding in programs, but we don't have to make any decision at this point because it's not slowing us down from the activities that we have at hand. So this is the highlight of the budget. This is basically what I wanted to refresh your memory on. The next slide will show you the numbers. You can see how the numbers make up. You can see the big drop in revenues. Again, there's a lot of uncertainty there. You can see the program fund transfer. You can see that the power supply expense close to what it was last year. The other thing I want to highlight this year, you know, we had budgeted 73 million, and that includes all the, 30 some odd million we transferred to programs. If I look at the fiscal year, we're going to end with a very good year. In terms of gap accounting, we're going to hit north of 100 million. We're already at 100 million with the latest treasury report, and we still have 2 months to go. And that's accounting for unspent program dollars. So we're looking at a very good year. But as happens with a good year, is the prices come down, you have to give back the gains we make in 1 year in the following year, which is what's happening because of the balancing account that PG&E tracks for PCIA and their own generation rates. Okay, we'll go to the next slide and I'll just summarize it once again. So biggest risk again is the uncertainty in the budget is the PCIA adjustment that we'll soon learn what PG&E makes its updated ERA filing. Again, we're keeping the discount 4% throughout to the end of this year. We're budgeting overall 2%, 1% for everyone, an additional 1% for low-income customers. And we will again revisit this in November, December timeframe, increasing the reserve targets to 300. And even though we're delaying the decision for setting aside building fund, that activity is not slowed down. We're still continuing with that. And then we will reassess program funding needs on an ongoing basis. That concludes the presentation. And the next slide, we're asking for your vote, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Amrit. Director Lee.
Thank you very much. And so I think the bottom line is basically at the end of the day, it's really what PG&E is going to charge. That's going to determine our financial future. Looking at a couple of variables, right? For example, oil prices is rising up again. Right now, we're about at the 52-week high. Interestingly enough, natural gas actually has plunged a lot. I think our pricing now is approximately a third of what it was a year ago. So given these type of variables, do you think that the price is going down PG&E because of natural gas mostly? Is that where the lowering of price came from?
Yes, electricity on the margin is still set by natural gas prices. So you'll see a direct, almost very high correlation. As you see, electricity prices will track gas prices. So as gas prices have come down, so has energy prices. And that's exactly what's happening.
Right. And then it's actually kind of scary to see how volatile it is. I don't look at natural heat prices on a daily basis, but I just pull up the chart for the past couple of years. It's phenomenal. We're at about less than 3 right now, but at one point of 1 year ago, that was like 9. So that type of fluctuation truly is almost unpredictable, right?
Yeah, and in December, January timeframe, there was close to $50 MMBTU.
Right. And of course, we've got winter coming up too, right? So depending on how cold it is, that would of course affect these prices. And it's not just us; it's a worldwide price, right?
Yes, it's very much U.S. continental, but there is an international element growing as well because of liquefied natural gas transports across the countries.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Director Lee. You're making me think that there could be a weather component too in terms of natural gas consumption, thinking of our previous slide, which we can't predict that either. Do we have any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Director Scozola.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what Director Lee was mentioning, basically the volatility as we're all becoming familiar with, if we didn't know already, of energy in general. So I just wanted to reiterate, like I've said several times before, I really appreciate those reserve numbers and elevating them. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Director. I don't see any other comments or questions. And then I'll get there. I'll get it. I'll get there. I can see it. I can see it. Director Mohan, please go ahead.
Hi, Amrit, one of the things, one of your goals was to update the reserve target from 285 days to 300 days. And I know that was in compliance with Moody's and some other agency. But my question was, how does that translate into dollars? And does that cut into your program's budget?
It's a target. So basically what we're saying is we want to grow so we have 3 levels of reserve targets. We have 120 days of cash on hand, which is, let's assume our burn rate is 1 million, it's slightly more than $1 million. So that means $120 million. So we're setting the target at 300. So let's say $300 million. And then we have an upper target of 490 days. So let's say close to $490 million. So these are the targets so that if we were to hit 490, we would, that'd be nice, but we would come back to the board and say, direct us how we should be using the fund. when we're between 120 and 300, which is where we are, and we're projecting in the next 5 years, that's the range where we will be. If you look at a lot of the slides in the appendix, we don't have to take any actions. Basically, we're basically where we should be to handle the financial stresses that the organization faces. So that's an indication of how much money we should be targeting to hold to manage the risk that the organization faces. So basically our financial liquidity position. It doesn't cut into programs. Programs, basically the money that the board directs to programs, once it's spent, obviously any expenditure we do reduces what's available for going into the reserve. So that's a balancing act that the board has to do at each time we set the budget, which is how much to set aside for programs, how much to set aside for reserves, how much to set aside for customer discount rates. And there are multiple objectives that we have to balance. We want to provide high valued services. We want to make sure that we are financially viable for the long term in setting our financial reserves. At the same time, we want to fund our programs so we can achieve the mission of our organization.
Okay, so the change you're making doesn't really translate into additional funds going into the reserve account?
No, this is just a target that says, as an organization, we should be targeting at this level of building our reserves. It's an indication to the board based on the analysis we've done and the external feedback we got from the rating agencies. And it's also sends a good signal to the rating agencies, our counterparties, that financial liquidity, the board considers that as an important element given the nature of our business.
Okay, so you're approximately at the target level already?
No, we're close to, I think the current treasurer's report, we're at 230 days of cash on hand.
Okay.
So well below 300.
Thank you.
Right. It prompts a question. If, let's say, we decided that we wanted to purchase a real estate, would we take a loan as to, in effect, retain our position in terms of days of cash? Or is that a balancing act we would decide later?
That's the balancing act we would decide. If we take a loan, it will still hurt our liquidity anyway.
Yes.
So we will discuss that. Chances are we would probably pull from our reserves. It'll be a lot cheaper because, as I said, debt would still hurt our liquidity anyway. But we'll have to assess how much liquid assets we want to hold.
Yes. Okay, as opposed to semi-liquid.
Yes.
All right.
Everything that becomes liquid with an element of time. So
yes, that's right. I guess you give it enough time. Great. I do not see any other comments or questions from board members. Oh, Vice Chair.
Excellent questions here, and I'll repeat the comment made for the prior item. It's good to have repetition, and it's really good to have issues, details sorted out, flushed out through different committees, the finance committee, the exec committee, and all of that. So for the annual budget, looking at way too many variables and too many unknowns, and depending on the external agencies, that'll create an impact on us. I feel comfortable where we are today, that the board has been presented numerous times how the budget has been built up. So I'm very happy to see that today. Thank you.
I think we would all say that. With that, do we have any public comment on item number 4? I do not see any in the room and not online. So I'd be looking for a motion from somebody. Okay. And Director Abe-Koga, whose microphone was off, seconded it, but I heard it. And so I think we're ready for a vote.
All right, Thank you. I will begin with you. Chair Tyson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Walia,
Aye.
Director Scozola,
Aye.
Meadows,
Aye.
Rennie,
Aye.
Makachuk,
Aye.
Abe Koga,
Aye.
Srinivasan,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Mohan,
Aye.
Hilton,
Aye.
Martinez Beltran.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries with Director Chua absent.
Great, thank you. With that, we now move on to any board member announcements on direction on future agenda items. Do we have any board member announcements? Director Meadows.
Yes, thank you, Chair Tyson. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
So I just wanted to give a call out. Let me just pull this up, and I want to thank Justin for braving the Los Altos City Council meeting last night and presenting the Electric Showcase Awards. So it's always interesting to meet our citizens who are in the vanguard of electrification. I jokingly asked if he was going to demonstrate his induction cooktop. He nervously said yes. So, but thank you, Justin, for doing that. And it's always nice to be able to showcase the work that SVCE is doing and our residents.
Thank you, Director. Vice Chair Walia.
Thank you for bringing that up, Director Meadows. Same thanks to Girish for being there personally. What was it? Last week, September 6th, I think, for the City of Saratoga Council meeting. And I really appreciate you coming there, especially when the resident was not even able to make it, and we knew that. So it was good we had a lot of people there for some other item, but it was good to have that presentation right at the beginning of the council meeting so people get to hear what is happening and who's providing their energy and how they can themselves think about it. So great incentive, spreads the word. Thank you, Girish.
Thank you, Director Meadows and Walia. The folks, I may miss someone, but who created this program and did all the work. Justin and I were figureheads on these evenings. Pam Leonard, Michaela Pippin is number one person, with Pam and Benna being very strong support. So they did a great job with this.
Very good. And I think I'm hearing a hint to the rest of us to move it early to get a better crowd when we cover it at our meeting. And so I'm going to call on Director Makachuk and then Director Lee.
Thank you. Excuse me. I may be a little late on the thank you side in the commendation, but our City of Monte Sereno picnic was on Sunday, the 27th of August, and SVCE had an excellent information booth there. As well, we had Monica was there and Benna was there, and it was really good. Our citizens, our residents learned a lot, and we're big supporters in Monte Sereno of Silicon Valley Clean Energy and the whole move over to clean energy. So that's one thing that I want to say. And then the other is SVC's year end is September 30th, and the audit committee is going to be meeting, I believe it's next week, in advance of that. So I just wanted to let everyone know about that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Director
Chair Tyson.
Yes, I was going to say Juliet was there as well,
Yes.
wasn't she?
Yeah, I was going to give a shout out. Yeah, but you know.
My apologies. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Julia Pascal did a lot of the heavy lifting for that, literally, to set up. And we had our Ford Lightning there too, which is Pam Leonard and the team, and Juliet actually, on the process of getting that wrapped. So we expect at the next board meeting, you'll see that in the parking lot with it wrapped with SVCE design.
All right, we will look forward to that. Let's go with Director Lee and then Director Martinez Beltran and then Director Srinivasan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So a little shameless plug. On October 14th, we're doing our Day on the Bay, our third annual Day on the Bay from the county at the Alviso Marina Park from 10 to 3. I want to thank SVCE Girish for the leadership of sponsoring the stage, and that solar device that's been put in, that was great last year, and looking forward again for all that great support of that good work and highlighting the good work of SVCE with lots of residents. A free, completely community-free event, 10 to 3. Please come. If you come early enough, you can even sign up to do some kayaking. We encourage folks to bike there instead of driving there. It's a really fun day from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Alviso Marina Park. So get that word out there to folks. It's an annual county event. And a lot of our nonprofits and also county departments will be out there highlighting the good work that our county has been doing. And then also vaccinations. Many of you have heard, we have now got a new vaccine that's been approved by the FDA and the CDC as well, and those will be coming and definitely will be made available with both the flu shots and the new COVID vaccine, this monovalent one at this event at the Marina Park. No reservations needed. Final plug about that induction electric stove. I was blown away. Bought it basically online, less than $100. Is now my favorite appliance in my house. We have this gas stove, a multiple burner. I am now using my electric induction. Didn't need to buy any new pans. Turns out like 9 out of 10 of our utensils all work beautifully. And when I pump it down to like 10 of the 0 to 10, it boils water in 3 minutes. Of a pot. It was amazing how fast it is. And by far, from looking at the bubble sizes, that thing is far more energy powerful than my gas stove. Number one. Number two is, of course, is induction, which means it's not even hot on the surface. It's actually through this technology. So I'm just completely blown away. So I'm sold completely. So I just want to get the word out to folks. If you're thinking about the year-end present for Christmas and whatnot, that's a good gifts for loved ones. Absolutely. Under $100, you can make them very happy. And since I'm all about electric and thanks to my solar panels generating a lot of it, this is all good. Thank you.
All right. A very good message there. Let's go to Director Martinez Beltran.
Well, we don't even need to advertise. We have Director Lee right there.
That's right.
I wanted to say, I've just learned that SVCE will be in Morgan Hill on the 7th of October. So I'm very excited for that with the F-150. But I wanted to share that it's a huge deal for Morgan Hill. We just had our groundbreaking yesterday for our new fire station. And Justin must have been very busy yesterday. If he was with you as well, Sully, because he was down there representing SVCE and did a fantastic job. I'm really excited to say, and we want to express our deep gratitude to SVCE for helping us with the firehouse. We have a partnership with SVCE, and that firehouse will be all electric. And of course, cost savings. It'll be a community asset for everyone, demonstrating what a clean building can be. And we're just really looking forward to maybe having people, once it's up and running, come and tour it. It's going to provide solar energy and electrify the entire firehouse. So it should be really exciting. So I just want to say thank you again. It was a $500,000 grant, and we had to re-engineer, and we're really grateful to have that partnership and be able to show this off to the community. So thank you.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. Director Srinivasan.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I wanted to thank Girish for showing up for Sunnyvale City Council. And then for an excellent presentation at the beginning of the meeting. So a lot of residents were there. And then thanks for recognizing some of our residents for electrifying their homes. Thank you, Girish. So.
Great. Any other comments? I do not see any other hands. There's a Girish hand raised.
I'm sorry. Should have mentioned on October 14th, the same day as Director Lee's event, we also have the electric showcase tour from 9 a.m. to noon. An email has gone out to all of you, so you're going to have a very green day that day. So really hope that you can all make it. It's going to be, you get to see all these great homes that have been built that are all electric. But you'll at least see 2 on that day.
Well, I know I'll be there. I don't see any other comments, so I will like to comment that if the item listed in terms of a closed session will not be heard today. And so with that, I will say we will officially adjourn. Thank you, everybody.